listening to the Meadows and Makers podcast with Making Stuff and Jack Dub. Making Stuff and Jack Dub.
So much.
Making Stuff and Jack Dub. Making Stuff and Jack Dub.
Let it go. He's saying, get out of the way. Just get it beating.
So much.
Killing these beats, man. Trust me.
You're listening to Meadows and Makers podcast
with Jack Dub and Making Stuff. Peace.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meadows and Makers podcast. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Greg Dowd, also known as Making Stuff on Steemit, on the Steemit blockchain. And this is a show where I try to talk about self-reliance and bring on people that are moving towards that or, want to try to become more self-reliant in their life and try to spread some knowledge about health, wealth, and self-empowerment. And that's my goal for this show, and that's what I try to bring on. And some of the guests and stuff that I bring on the show, we discuss some of these issues, and even issues that are happening right now and going on, and how we can kind of move more towards the realm of more freedom and self-reliance in our lifestyles to try to move outside of the system as it stands right now. So that's what it's all about. And so this week I have on a buddy, returning guest, and soon to visit my property. Come down for a visit, and we're going to have he's going to come over and kind of hang out and kind of be a guinea pig for how I host people in the future on my property. But he'll be one of the first to come out. But I got returning guest Solo Miner coming on, and we're going to have a little chat and just kind of have like a free form chat today. So, yeah, just a little disclaimer up front that I need to do is that the views and opinions that are expressed on the show are my own and those of my guests, and they do not reflect on MSP Waves and the wonderful people that keep this operation going around here. So if you have any feedback, send it my way, either through a comment or on the video or just reaching out to me in a DM or anything like that. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only. And so there you go. There's your disclaimer. And thank you guys for hanging out. We got Bleep Coin, we got Rondon, we got Swoop in the audience so far. So guys, really appreciate you guys being here and coming to hang out for the show. There's lots going on in the world. We just got through with Thanksgiving and everything, and I hope everybody made a ruckus with their families about certain issues, and you made it through okay. You made it through the Thanksgiving holidays okay. One last thing that I like to do in the beginning of the show is just do my little motto is that I will be an inextinguishable light of possibilities for myself and others, and something to hold in my heart. I hold in my heart, and I try to, spread with other people. So there we go. Without further ado, let's get to chatting with Solar Miner. Hey, Solar Miner, how have you been, man?
Oh, I've been doing good making stuff. Hello there, everyone, on Meadows support group and Meadows and Makers. Thanks for having me. Swoop, I see you. Rondon, Hi Bleep Coin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet, brother. Yeah, so I got one of your personal page up and going, but yeah, how did you make it through did you have a good Thanksgiving holiday?
Yeah, I just stayed at home and took it easy. I don't really keep up my family this much these days, so Thanksgiving is usually some time where people think I'm busy at family, but it gives me time to really focus on stuff where people think would be unoccupied otherwise. So I like the holidays. I can get stuff done actually.
Okay, so people kind of are like, okay, he's probably busy with family, so you use that opportunity to just work on some projects and things.
Yeah. I probably rendered 30 videos. Just got a bunch of gaming footage that I've been slowly building up on my computer, and I posted on Steam and use all the different tags like Ace Steam and OP Gaming and earn those tokens just for my gaming footage. It's awesome.
Yeah, and being able to earn these tokens right now, I think is so important. It's getting harder. It seems like it's getting harder and harder to even buy these coins now with these exchanges and things like that. It seems like that they're really clamping down on these centralized exchanges. I know Poloniex, my Poloniex account got shut down. They're no longer serving U.S. customers.
I was shocked when I heard that because Polo was probably the first exchange I ever used for altcoins. I used it a long time, and now they're gone. Same with Bitfinex. They were serving the U.S. customers, and then they had to stop. It really sucks. So now I'm stuck with Coinbase, and maybe Kraken might service people in America, but honestly, I need to find some good on-ramps and off-ramps to crypto.
Man, I'm struggling right now myself, especially. Okay, so I was out looking for some Bitcoin ATMs recently, and they're all one way. They're not two way in my local area. So I'm like, dang, I can't even find a two way Bitcoin ATM if I do want to get cashed out or whatever. So we got somebody in the audience is saying that New Dax EOS exchange. I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, but if they don't go to dollars, I mean, it's only altcoin to altcoin, which is great. I mean, we need that. It's great for volume, but having a way to get crypto to fiat and fiat to crypto is something hard to find in the U.S.
Yeah. So Swoop's saying, what about Binance? You might be able to use Binance still if you're using like a VPN, maybe.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like if you're going to give them KML, the know your customer anti-money laundering rules where you have to send them your ID, I'd be really scared of being in charge of fraud because like then I'm using a VPN line and trying to show my identity. Like that might be a felony. I don't want to mess with that.
Yeah. So it's getting harder and harder to kind of do these things now. I know there's lots of decentralized exchanges. I was listening into some of the guys from Anarchadelphia on a BitChute, and they're all talking about different things that they're setting up as far as decentralized exchanges. And there was one guy on there, and he was talking about PalmPay .io, and what he was actually explaining was for crypto to really be resilient is that we need to everybody needs to start doing IPFS. As a way to build a more robust layer and maybe possibly even doing mesh networking in case of ISPs getting shut down and stuff like that.
That's a good plan. Long term, that's something to consider. You're already seeing websites de-indexed by Google on their search engine. And what's coming next are probably going to be hard route blocks through the ISP. So, yeah, that's important. We need to get ahead of that.
Yeah, yeah. So, man,
Look
it's
at China. We don't want to go like China with the Great Firewall project. That would suck.
yeah, yeah. It's really getting pretty well. I mean, right now, if you're not seeing the Orwellian nature of everything, I don't know where where you're at because it really is ramping up right now.
Funny thing is, I've actually turned to Russian search engines when I want to find stuff that's de-indexed by Google. I use Yandex, and it works great.
Really?
Yeah, so thanks, Russians. You're helping me out actually get true information these days.
Yeah, it's funny, man. It's kind of synchronistic there. I actually started working with a Russian guy at my. I picked up a little part-time job to earn some extra capital.
Right.
And,
How's that going for you?
Man, it's going really well. You know, it's a prosthetics and orthotics. I'm helping build these braces for people that have trouble walking or need help correction on their walking and things like that, and also people that are missing limbs and stuff. And I find it really rewarding. I find it, you build these things and you're working on it, and you're physically, building these braces and everything like that for people. And at the end of the day, I get to see my finished product, and it's a good feeling. It's a lot better than a lot of my older jobs where I was like, it was more of a desk job and stuff. And so it was like, I didn't really get to see the product of my efforts at the end of the day as much as I do here. So I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. Like, how much electronics are in these prosthetics, or are they just basically casts of different body shapes?
So it's they're casts of different body shapes, and a lot of them are built. The assistance is mechanical, so it's actually built into the brace. So one of the types of braces is called a PLS brace, and the acronym, they're all acronyms for it's like post lateral support or something like that. But it's a piece of plastic that's actually built into the back of the brace, and then there's a section cut out, so it's like just a stiffened region, so that when they walk, it just helps spring their step to give them that extra spring in their step to move forward.
Okay, so these are not total replacement parts like a whole arm or a whole leg. These are to assist with like ligaments and weak muscles and stuff?
Yeah, the braces are. The prosthetics, I haven't got into as much, but I am helping work on one right now, which is it's a below the knee prosthetic piece, and it's the socket that goes there. As far as like the powered ones with all the electronics in it and all that stuff, I haven't gotten into working on a sophisticated one like that yet, but
Gotcha. Well, you'll get there. You're just starting at this place anyway.
yeah, just getting started there, and it's it's pretty cool. So I'm really enjoying it. We had a little bit of chat going on. Is that there's some people in our community, it seems, that will help you out and will give you cash for Steam or stuff like that. So if you're looking for routes like that, so I really think that's the way is more peer to peer. We really got to get more peer to peer in trades and being able to support each other in the crypto community and just in general. I know I had this discussion with another friend another person that I met in Arkadelphia, and we've been kind of chatting back and forth about. He's really skeptical about cryptocurrencies, and he's got a lot of good, valid arguments on it. What are your thoughts on crypto's ability to give us an alternative to this system and to you know, do you see it as kind of a transition tool or like a way that it could keep the whole thing from collapsing? You know, I've got several thoughts on this, but maybe I'd like to hear what your thoughts are first.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to diversify any kind of asset you have, because if the stock market fell out, they've shown it's not correlated at the moment with the changes in the index like of the NASDAQ. But honestly, a lot of people that hold crypto do consider it like a high-risk tech stock. So I think if we had a big falling out, I do expect crypto to fall through the floor. But then when they realize, oh, well, the dollar's just going to keep dropping as they print more money to try to fix this, but Bitcoin being a deflationary asset where halvings raises its price artificially, they're going to be like, wow, I should just buy Bitcoin. So I think we're going to see a huge drop if there is a big run out on the market. But then they're going to slowly come back in when they realize there is literally nothing better, because dollars are just being printed under any type of emergency, and it devalues your savings that much more.
Right. And that's, you know, that's kind of one of the things that I got into is that if you don't have your basics covered first, like you need to have, you know, a way of getting food, water, shelter, energy production is a nice extra one. But if you can get those covered first, then it you know, make your investments. But until then, yeah, this cryptocurrency is a very we should be using it as a tool, in my opinion. Especially there's ones like Monero, where it can, you know, be more easily exchanged and not under, it's more privacy centered. So, you know, so these are the ones that make it a little bit better for exchange with other people. And, but you know, for what I tell people is that, you really need to have all those bases covered first, until you even start thinking about, you know, additional investments. And if you are gonna dabble, you know, don't, you know, dabble with anything that you can't afford to lose, you know?
Yeah, I think we should go back to trying to own real estate before anything else, which is an impossible task these days, because that's the most expensive asset, but it's the most protected, and you have a physical piece of something. I mean, yeah, the government owns it too, and they can take it from you. I mean, if you don't pay your property taxes, but it's better than a piece of paper in an ownership of a stock, or having a currency that's losing its value anywhere from 2 to 25% every year, depending on how badly it's managed. So real estate is a hard asset, and I think more people should get into those. I don't own any land. I think that's really great. You own some land making stuff, but I'm still working on it. I'm not quite there.
Yeah. It is one of those things that, you know, if you can defend, it really comes down to personal responsibility. Everything does, because, especially, you know, with property, the ultimate, way that you're going to hold on to property is if you can, you know, if you can keep and defend it. You know, I think, you know, back in the day they had the Homestead Act, and it was just like to be able to populate the West.
Oh my God. The
Yeah.
land races. Do you know about the land races that occurred back in Oklahoma and stuff?
No.
They basically gave a lottery to anyone that had a horse and could travel far enough to find these flags stuck out on land. And if they found these while riding their horse, they can claim that piece of land. And it was called the Great Land Race. And it was stopped shortly after because all of a sudden all the land was disappearing to people for the lottery. But a lot of people got their land started by the government giving out lotteries based on a horse race, basically, running off into the land to find those stakes of flags that were placed out by, I guess, government workers or someone in the Fed.
Yeah. Well, you know, at one point in time, and this was a question actually that Ernest Hancock, he does a Declare Your Independence podcast. And he put this out recently. He said, at what point did the government say that they just own the claim to your land or whatever, like, at what point did that happen? Because, there was a point at which they did these things like the Homestead Acts and all this stuff where you just go out and you lay claim to your land, and like, well, how did they even have the ability to just do that? So it's like,
I think as infrastructure was built in the 1950s, it was more justifiable. All of a sudden, when you have roads costing millions of dollars to maintain, money has to come from somewhere. I mean, dirt roads way, way, way back in the day didn't require the kind of upkeep our roads probably need.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah, well, hopefully, well, something I'm working towards is a future where we don't really need roads, so.
Like flying drones, just the airspace is our new avenue where we don't have to maintain that.
or anti-gravity craft and stuff like that. So
roads are so wasteful. I mean, look at how much work you have to do to lay a road through an area. I think it is wasteful, and we hopefully will get past that. I'll tell you what, driving a fast car on a canyon road is one of a kind feeling, and me and you and other people might be the last generations to ever experience that once self-driving cars take over.
Yeah, man. What'd you think about the Tesla truck?
Oh my God. It looks like that carrier from Star Wars. It was from one of those vehicles, but it looked like reminiscent of one of those troop carriers in Star Wars.
Yeah, I love the memes that spurred about it. Like there's Cruising USA Nintendo 64 of it looking like it's popping out of the thing, and then there was one where it looked like it was like Halo, they put the Halo guys in the back seat.
I bet it's gonna sell though. There are people out there that will buy it just because it's the first Tesla truck.
Yeah.
And what were its specs? I didn't actually read its specs. Is it pretty good with range and all that?
Geez, that would be my thing, is that if this thing is actually very good on performance, then it would be awesome. It'd probably be awesome if this thing can actually perform and tow and do really well. So,
or it gets really good air efficiency. I mean, those designs may be aero designs. I mean, just like the F-117 stealth fighter is an ugly aircraft, it was built to look like that for a reason. So it's possible those designs are helping with airflow. Maybe not, but maybe they are.
Yeah. So anyway, it would be it'll be interesting to see. Like, for me, it would be like if that thing can tow and do all that, then that thing is pretty cool. So yeah. So Justin Ashby, you bring up a good point. Saying that the research for anti-gravity won't cost billions. Well, you know what? NASA spent $130 million to develop a pen because they realized the ballpoint pen wouldn't work in space. They spent $130 million to develop a pen that would work so they could write with a pen in space. Guess what the Russians did? They just used a pencil.
Right? Good old graphite. Keep it simple. It was also with the space race, like they wondered why we sent monkeys into space when dogs work just as well. Like they're like, you're overdoing it, America.
Yeah. So, I don't see any solutions coming from government. It's all going to come from the backyard innovator, in my opinion. It's going to come from private investment. Recently, there was a talk from the L5 Institute in Huntsville, Alabama, of a new foundation that's being created to seek funding from these eclectic billionaires like Bigelow, like Robert Bigelow, the guy that I guess he gained his fortune in all the hotel chains, like Days Inn hotel chains or whatever. But
he also owned it Skinwalker Ranch for a while. He had ownership in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a paranormal property. Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you on it, but that guy has some interesting ownerships.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like these things are going to come from I just say that to make the point that I see no innovation, coming from NASA or the government. It's all going to come from private industry and people that are going to put their money and take some risk into this thing, and actually want to see things like this new type of propulsion, new type of energy come out, and it's going to happen that way. And for me, there's so many people looking into these things now. There's so many people looking into alternative energy, 0-point energy type technology, anti-gravity technology. It will be impossible to stop all the innovation from backyard innovators from being able to start playing with these things and actually develop some things. So, but the key, I believe, is going to be to open source a lot of this information. So this is where
GitHub for all the inventions.
Yeah, well, or different blockchains, IPFS, all this stuff. So
I love interplanetary file system. I'm all about it with my DTube system.
yeah, so I think that'll be the key, is instead of trying to patent anything or whatever, that all if somebody has a real good innovation that they want to see come to fruition, that these things be protected, the people be protected, and the information be open source so as many people can replicate the thing as possible. So anyway, I don't think that's going to be held back for much longer in any case. Just an aside there, but something that I really foresee happening.
I think with the advent of the internet, and as long as the internet stays open and mostly uncensored, I think innovation will continue to grow. But I mean, yeah, NASA, look at what SpaceX did recently with its recoverable rocket boosters.
Yeah.
I mean, they just saved a ton of money every time they go into space by recovering those boosters. And NASA couldn't even do that in the 50 years that they were up and running. He did it in like 10 years.
Yeah. NASA is just one big, in my opinion, NASA is one big funnel for the DoD. It's a way to funnel money into the into the Department of Defense, the military industrial complex for black projects and stuff like that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. They launch mostly classified payloads, and they're all spy satellites or attack satellites even that can take out other satellites. You're right. NASA has become contractors for the military, basically.
Well, when you look at it in just the $130 development, $130 million, dollars to develop a pen, Why do you need 130 million to develop a pen? So it's like and then you have all these cost overruns. Well, one of the big things in government contracting that happens is they do these cost plus contracts. So these cost plus contracts, especially the people like the United Launch Alliance guys and the SLS program, Space Launch Systems or whatever. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, so I grew up in kind of in and around these industries. So I kind of know somewhat of how this all works, and so
I'm looking forward to talking space probes with you. I've studied them my whole life as an amateur person interested in it, and there's some interesting cases.
Yes, and you know what? There's a lot of interesting people in and around Huntsville that are privy to some interesting information. They're engineers that they literally do want to see us go into space, but everything is so compartmentalized in there. A lot of these engineers are working on maybe like one little thing, one little aspect of what it means to get into space or work on the space station or any of these things, and they're not really looking at how the whole system works, and there are some that are actually trying to get some information out there. There's this guy Greg Allison on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel called Galactic Gregs, and I want to suggest that everybody go look at his YouTube channel because he put out that recent L5 presentation there on a lot of this information about anti-gravity research and a lot of these things. And there was also a scientist called Ming Lee, that was in Huntsville, Alabama, that was working on some anti-gravity research as late as, like, I believe it was either the 80s or the 90s. It may have been the 90s. And then she spun off and she was going to create her own LLC with this. Well, she just kind of disappears. It's a weird thing. So if you want to kind of look into some of this stuff.
Yeah, Ming Lee. I'm going to check out YouTube about that person later. I believe we have gotten anti-gravity to work. It just can be done on a cellular or molecular level. We can't lift anything weighing more than a picogram of weight.
Yeah, well, if you want to look into the work of Thomas Townsend Brown, he was doing some research into electrogravitic propulsion, and using high voltage electricity to do some interesting gravity experiments. So,
what's his name again? Thomas what?
Thomas Townsend Brown. He's the guy. Okay. Thomas Townsend Brown.
Was he basically building a cyclotron by adding voltage and magnets? He was trying to change things inside?
No. So the premise is that when you create a very large difference in voltages based on geometries, that you get a discontinuity, or it's like actually a lot of people think it's like charging ions and moving it through, so that you create propulsion in that way. But it's actually what we think of as gravity is probably actually just the movement of the ether. Of what we consider empty space is actually not empty. It's actually full of energy, but it's in an equilibrium form that we can't perceive. So yeah, let's see. Let me turn up solo here. Yeah, there we go.
Sounds good now. Is that better?
Hopefully that should be better.
Cool.
So anyway, you're getting me excited about all this stuff. So it might be me talking a little too loud.
No. Space exploration has some amazing. There's so much data, but it's hard to comprehend everything that's been done since the 50s out in space. But there's been some really unique cases. One that comes to mind is Phobos. Mars's moon.
Okay.
Well, Phobos has been attempted to be explored by the Russians and Americans probably a dozen times with probes, and 3/4 of those probes have failed to get there or failed near Phobos. And some very interesting photos have been taken of Phobos by the space probe, showing a shadow that can't be explained. And a few minutes later, the whole space probe dies. It's very strange, and I'd have to make not a YouTube, like a DTube video on it, and like a 30-minute talk to give all the details. But Phobos is interesting. Something's going on there, in my opinion, that space probes don't like. Maybe it's the electromagnetic atmosphere there, but maybe there's something else going on.
I'll have to look into that.
Hey, have you seen these new rings?
Phobos, sorry about that.
Yeah, Phobos. Yeah, and it's basically it's called the Mars Curse. If you look on Wikipedia, it's dubbed as the Mars Curse. It's just a lot of rovers have gone to Mars, but almost all of the explorers gone to Phobos have failed. And it's just all different reasons too. They didn't all fail for the same reason. They've all failed for different reasons, and it's very strange.
Well, there's all kinds of interesting things happening now. One of the recent things that I've looked into is that the Voyager probes were sent out by NASA several years ago, and recently they've said that the Voyager probes have encountered something like they're calling it magnetic foam. And they're kind of getting stuck in this stuff, and it's slowing down the probes.
Yeah, they're at the edge of the heliosphere or something like that. It's at the edge of the sun's influence, I guess, on the galaxy that it's in.
Yeah. So recently there was a good talk by Bitcoin Ben. I don't know if anybody are familiar with him, and then Cliff High. They did an interview together, and they were talking about this about what happened here with Voyager and this magnetic foam phenomenon. And pretty much Cliff is saying in the video is that, well, this is a good example of how we live in a dielectric universe. It's an electric universe. And so as the sun is moving through the galaxy, it's actually, creating this, field that's like a big, like you're saying, that like the heliosphere thing around the sun as it's moving through the galaxy, and creating this like kind of, what NASA is calling a magnetic foam, but it's, this kind of like a field that the sun is projecting through as it moves through the ether of space.
Yeah, it's amazing. These are the first probes to be so far out. We're getting all new data that we've never had before.
Right. Right. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting times. And, in the video, he was saying, well, this really gives the credibility, more credibility to Tesla and a lot of things that Tesla was talking about. So, he, it's a good thing because it's going to get more people interested in that theory of the ether and everything. And not that, because Einstein said that he didn't believe that the ether was there and came up with the relativity and all this stuff, which a lot of it, they had to make up some interesting math to be able to explain away some of the things that were inaccurate or whatever. So, so there were a lot of inaccuracies in that, in their math and everything like that. And it's looking more like what Tesla was saying, that this whole thing is just electric, so
there's a lot more to electricity than we know currently. I think we just figured out how to use it, like to power our homes and electronics, but I have a feeling that electricity has to do with gravity in a way that we can't explain yet.
Yeah, I do believe so. I really do believe so. There's another guy, his name is Theoria Apophasis on YouTube, and he has a really good explanation of what gravity is and what he believes gravity is. And so if you imagine you have a toroidal field if you can just imagine a torus, and you have two vortexes, and that inertia and motion of those of those electrons and the particles there in that field spinning are what is creating gravity.
I've heard the torus explanation. I saw a documentary on it a while back.
Yeah. So it's possible if you can create a field in opposition to that field, then you could counteract gravity. You could make it null or something. So, or make yourself zero weight or whatever, and then maybe use some other propulsive means of moving you around, because you have almost the effects of gravity are nulled out. So.
Yeah, there's something going on. Recently on Joe Rogan, there was a fighter pilot that was interviewed that had to do with the Nimitz incident. Are you know about the Nimitz incident?
It sounds familiar, but yeah, you'd have to refresh me on it.
Sure. So the USS Nimitz is a large, some kind of battleship that is out in, I think, the Pacific Ocean. Maybe it's Atlantic, somewhere. Doing some kind of battle fleet operations and practicing red flag exercises and different types of war activities. And they kept getting artifacts showing up on the radar that they couldn't explain. And it was one of those things where they at first thought it was artifacts, like in glitches. So they would call the technicians in and say, hey, there's stuff showing up on our radar again. There's nothing out there. It's going too fast. It's moving too erratically. It's an artifact. It's a glitch. And they kept retuning the radar on this multi-billion-dollar battle destroyer. And eventually, they actually had an encounter with it during a training exercise. There was a FA-18 Hornets doing a training exercise off of one of the areas where that Nimitz, I guess it was the battleship, and they actually saw something that was tic-tac shaped right above the water, and they actually saw a huge structure directly under the water where this tic-tac thing was floating over. And they had an amazing experience. You really need to listen to the Joe Rogan Experience and have him interviewed, because he had the most amazing encounter with this thing, where the Tic Tac came up to the fighter jet level at no expense, like within seconds, flew next to it, and then left, and then did a flyby, and then it disappeared. But the Nimitz incident is really interesting, as they have radar coverage of this incident, and they have a fighter jet pilot, or a few. There was actually a squadron, so multiple fighter jet pilots all saw the same thing in this encounter.
Yeah, and just from what I've been around in the Huntsville area here, I do believe that there are these secret programs that are happening. There was the what is the we have the recently released patent by the U.S. Navy, I believe, that deals with a lot of these anti-gravity things and things like that. Possibility of creating anti-gravity propulsion and different things like that, means of doing this. So that was released this year, I believe. And
yeah.
And so how long has there been this development of this technology? So, a lot of these anomalies that people see, a lot of these UFOs and things like that, it could really possibly be, of our own design and just, secret programs and things. So
yeah, it could be time travelers. It could be us in the future coming back to check us out. And there could be a lot of things. It might not just be aliens from a faraway galaxy. But like you were saying with anti-gravity, how do you explain them turning on a dime like this? How do they outmaneuver our state-of-the-art fighter jets? The F-18 Hornet is like one of the most superior fighter jets on Earth, and it basically flew around this thing like it was standing still. There's something going on with anti-gravity, I think, where you can stop on a dime without smushing yourself from inertia, turning yourself into a pancake.
right.
Or it's all computer operated. Like our drones now can probably take more G's than a person can in a fighter jet. I'm sure alien drones can probably take millions of G's possibly before they would have an issue. So it's one or the other.
Yeah. If you really want to go deep into the rabbit hole, there's some other great people that are talking about a lot of these things, and how the universe is all, a web of interconnectedness. And one of the big guys that turned me on to thinking in this way and to actually thinking about the ether being there and all that is Nassim Haramein. And he talks about how, at one point, a lot of what he's described in his he's created unified field theory. And he talks about how everything is interconnected. Like what we think of of atoms are just like mini wormholes that are all kind of interconnected with each other. So if you wanted to travel to another point in space, all you would need to do would be to disassemble your information and then have it show, reassemble your information at another point in the universe or whatever. That's how we will do intergalactic travel. That will not through propulsion methods. It will be through actually like moving your information across the universe.
Like
So-
a packet across a network. You build it on one
Exactly.
side and compile it on the other. That'll be wild. There's going to be some problems. Let's just say malformed packets that we're going to have to deal with at first, and they're going to be terrifying.
Yeah, I don't think I want to be the first person to
No.
volunteer for that, but
It's going to be like, what was that, the Manhattan Project, where those sailors got stuck in the side of the ship. They had a ship where they like teleported it and it messed up.
oh, that
and it
was
killed.
the Philadelphia experiment.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the first bad example of that not working. Let's hope we get it better.
yeah. So yeah, like a lot of this new science and this new way of thinking is kind of coming about, and more and more people are looking into these things. So if as soon as some people start to actually, and that was the whole thing that Tesla was saying, is that Einstein was creating all these theories and different things like that, but they weren't creating anything practical based on their theories. Tesla had a ton of real life inventions that completely changed the world based on his understanding of reality. And so, as of yet, we haven't been able to create any like devices based off these ideas of relativity and things like that. So it's just, what Tesla was doing, he was creating real, applicable technologies to the world, and actually, bringing them forth. And so, a lot of the media and a lot of the people want to make Tesla into some kind of like crazy crackpot or whatever, make him look like a crackpot. But the guy was really, looking into the nature of reality and actually applying a lot of these things. Yes, Justin Ashby, he actually understood the principles, and so so if there is truly an ether, and this is how gravity works, is through these, this toroidal field and everything like that. It's possible to create a counter rotating toroidal field of enough energy to counteract gravity, if that's what it is. And so if that can be demonstrated, and I think people like maybe Ming Lee were getting a little too close to that. And they
disappeared,
and they went away,
Yeah. I've heard of many cases, and you look at all of Tesla's research documents, they were taken, I think, by the feds, and they still yet to be completely released. And it's been 100 years.
Yeah. So
a lot of people are onto something. They cover it up because it's like the who killed the electric car. The car companies in the early 90s had a reason to stop electric cars. Same thing is going to go for these other types of movement technologies. They don't want them to take over. How are you going to compete with something that gets 1 billion miles to the gallon? You can't get close to it. You're at 20 right now. How are you going to get to 1 billion?
Right. Yeah. So in my opinion, we're really on the cusp of this, and this is why there's so much internet censorship. Is one of the reasons I think that there's so much happening right now with internet censorship, and the possibility that there may even be an internet. They might kill the internet even if people start to share too much of this information. And so, that's a big reason why I try to use alternatives and am so passionate about decentralizing everything, is because, these tools that we're using for communication are being, shut down, and we really have to be forward thinking and to be using alternatives as much as we can and promoting them as much as we can.
Yes, blockchains and the distributed network across all those nodes. How are you ever going to make a change on it on a meaningful level on a decentralized network? You're not. Centralized networks, you can delete things all the time. I mean, you have archive.org and the Wayback Machine to see old websites, but that's only for a website. It's someone wants something gone on a centralized platform, it's as good as gone.
Yeah. And man, I don't know if you've been looking into this whole COPPA thing that's happening on YouTube now, but
heard of it. Yep. I I guess more centralization means more regulation.
Well, it's also, I mean, in my opinion, you're going to see a lot of creators start leaving YouTube, and they need some good alternatives. I know BitChute is a really good video platform. We got DTube.
But BitChute is not decentralized. They just happen to be an alternative.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the thing, is a lot of them, and there's even like social media platforms on Bitcoin Cash and EOS, but they all have problems where you have to spend coins to use them. Not like our DPoS network where you stake and you have voting power. I think that's where we have the better hand compared to almost any other platform where you have to spend tokens to interact.
Yeah, I do agree that there is a power. There is a big power to the DPoS system. So. There
isn't a lot of power struggles too. It's good and bad. You see the flag wars that occur and the whale manipulation, but at the same time, we don't have the problem that EOS has, where any comment, any like, any share, you have to spend your EOS, or in Ethereum's case, you have to spend gas to do anything. And if you're a big social media user, you have to do that hundreds of times. That's going to cost you a lot of money. It cost me nothing with Steam.
Yeah. So it's as big a, I love to see so many of these pop up. We have IPFS, library. I know you use library too.
Yeah, sure do.
Library seems to be like a good solution as well.
Yeah, it's a whole other blockchain. I think it's important to have diversification. I mean, a blockchain could get corrupt. I mean, it's not going to really go back past a corrupt point. You could roll it back, but having multiple blockchains is going to be better than being on one for sure. So I use a dApp that any type of picture I upload to my server, it creates a hash that then registers on the blockchain. And the same goes for DTube. I have a dApp that ties right into the DTube network. When I upload things, it uploads to my server plus the DTube network. So being on multiple systems like a mesh network is, it's the best way.
I agree. Yeah, I'm in big agreement on this, and just getting for exactly the reasons I've been talking about, is the distribution of information, and to keep it away from censorship, and to allow people to be able to dive into these things, and to have them available for everybody to play with, and not have these ideas taken away. So I recently ran across a quote that was saying that censorship is like telling a man he can't eat a steak because a baby can't chew it. It's a quote by Mark Twain.
Oh, nice. That guy knows what's up.
Yeah.
That's a good saying. It's true. It's like, if one person can't deal with it doesn't mean everyone else shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Mark Twain is the man. And so, we're coming up on this whole COPPA thing, and with YouTube, it's very, this thing is very muddy, because the FTC could label anybody trying to target children, even if their content isn't meant for children whatsoever. They could say, you've been targeting children, and now you owe, X amount, the $42,000 something that they want to fine everybody on. So
right, for retaining minor information.
Yeah, and so they could peg, anybody on this, really. And so it's really about, in my opinion, it's about censorship, and really keeping other people from actually putting out, the content that they want to create. Really, it should be a market decision on how this thing plays out, not regulation, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we'll see the first landmark court cases when that occurs, when they actually apply COPPA laws to a content creator. I don't think it's happened yet. Everyone's afraid of it, but it'll set a precedent, and that will be some serious stuff when that happens.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, this is just another. I think it's another big win for decentralized platforms, in my opinion.
Yes, definitely. Having the author has full control over their posts is a lot better than having a centralized party either being able to demonetize you or take off your content. I mean, of course, a whale could demonetize you or orca or whatever, but you don't have one central authority of moderation. It's more of the community that decides if you're worthy of getting rewards or not one entity.
So there you go. I mean, I'm going to be posting this up to YouTube later, but because I also post up to YouTube with this show. So for anybody that's listening on YouTube, to go check out the other alternatives like Steemit and DTube and Library and BitChute and all these other alternatives.
Yeah, and know the difference between a decentralized and a centralized platform. Like a lot of people think the DLive is still a decentralized platform. They left Steam and they are completely centralized now. But people think for some reason it's an alternative. It's considered decentralized, but it's not. It's a trap. I wouldn't go near DLive.
Yeah. They went to a more centralized thing so that I guess they could host the videos better and different things like that. But
They claimed I had great experience with them. I got curated by them a few times while live streaming, and I never had problems. So I think they just got bought out by someone or a business partner got them to move over to another platform. And it wasn't a technologically better platform. It was just more a monetized deal for them than staying on Steam.
yeah, somebody needs to post up the Admiral Akbar. It's a trap.
Yeah, you just look at DLive's system where you can buy their tokens through PayPal, but you can't cash them out. And when you do cash them out, you have to do it at a very slow rate. There's a lot of really shady things about DLive. I stay way away from it.
Yeah, for sure. It's they're masquerading as a blockchain of some kind or decentralized in some way, but they're really not. Yeah.
No, they just have tokens that are centralized tokens. I mean, Venezuela made tokens too. What's your point?
Yeah, so I think just being able
UPI, they bought them.
Just being able to use the most decentralized versions, I think right now are maybe the IPFS and Steemit and DTube uses IPFS, but you should really run your own node or find a service that will back up your videos on IPFS.
Right. So you're in control of it when they purge the old videos, because anyone that's posted the DTube long enough knows your videos stop working.
Right.
And they ran out of space. I mean, they only have so many terabytes or petabytes of space on their servers before they have to purge old videos. YouTube doesn't have that issue. They're owned by Google.
Right. So
they have their own. They literally created their own file system because they're so big. Like they're on such a massive scale. YouTube is a one of a kind where you can have a video from 2010 and it's still accessible today.
Right, because they just have a huge amount of servers and a lot of that. I believe they're partially funded, and Google is partially funded through In-Q-Tel, which is like a branch of the CIA or something like that.
Oh boy! So probably the Utah data center is the colo for YouTube.
Yeah,
their backbone is now the NSA. I believe that. That's otherwise I'd like to go with crypto and the new crypto, not the SHA-based cryptos, but things like ZK Snarks, and Monero's the Crypto Night, and other brand new encryption algorithms that weren't created by the NSA and FBI. People don't realize SHA and SSL and a lot of these encryption tools we use were literally created by the intelligence communities.
Yeah. It's that's why I think Monero is one of the cryptos to as far as privacy and things are of that nature are concerned, is that if we really want to be using cryptocurrencies to their fullest extent, I believe that Monero has that privacy centered focus.
Monero is good from a privacy point of view, but their scalability, where you can't prune the transaction tree, is a big problem, and they're experiencing massive blockchain bloat. So, as much as I like their ways of being obscurificating their transactions, their blockchain, they need to fix it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
one of
you're.
the only problem with Crypto Night is they can't prune the blockchain. Is you can't prove where transactions go, so they have no way of pruning them without breaking the history of the blockchain, and it's a problem, I hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Dash is not even really trying to be privacy based anymore. They use old CoinJoin technology that was like came out a few years after Litecoin did. So you really have to look at like other coins like Zcoin, Zcash. I like Horizon. I'm a big fan myself of Horizon for the ZK Snarks types of privacy coins. Because just looking at Dash and like I said, the problems with Monero, there's newer ones that's brand new coins that have been built out of forks of older coins, and they fix a lot of the problems they had.
Horizon. I haven't heard of that one yet.
Yeah, it was in the top 100, and it's been there for a while on CoinMarketCap, but it's down in the 80s. It actually might do a flip inning with Steam. Steam keeps going up in the 90s, and Horizon keeps dropping into the 80s. They might switch places for the first time since I've been watching. And you can own a secure node and super node and get passive income by staking your coins through a hosting service. So it's like Dash, but Dash you need like $60,000 to start a node.
Right.
Then other ones like Zcash, I think you need like $5,000. But Horizon is a few $1,000s for a super node and only a few $100s for a secure node. So they have some really interesting platforms. And if you actually look on the masternode sites that keep track, they have the most masternodes out of any cryptocurrency. There are over 25,000 nodes. It's amazing.
Wow. So these guys are looking at the governance model of like the Dash project, and they've adopted the masternode type thing. And
yeah,
it's just more privacy centered.
Yeah, what they have done is I think they're a fork of Zcash, and then they have then fixed a lot of the problems that coin inherently had. But now it's so far away from being what that fork was. They're their own coin. Kind of like how a lot of coins start off as a fork as one, but the developers quickly build it into a completely different coin. So Horizon have done a lot of development. So these days, just to call it a fork would be rude. I don't want to call it a fork. But it has a lot of privacy things focused on it. And they do something called domain fronting, which is an anti-censorship system. So say you're in a country where they're doing domain-based blocking of websites, like for DNS. They did this in, I think, the Egypt during the spring, the incident they had, where they were blocking websites based on their domain name. And what this domain fronting allows you to do is basically be a backup. And if someone's being blocked on one side, you can still front it to them on another platform. So it's a censorship-resistant feature that no other coin has, as far as I know. So something to look into.
Yeah.
Domain fronting. And they're, like I said, they're proof of stake. So if you hold enough coins, you can then be an operator in the network. And it doesn't cost tens of thousands of dollars like Dash does.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah. So, man, yeah, that's vitally important, now with, Rondon just brought up that, I guess Australia, they're doing some firewall blocks in Australia. And then, when the New Zealand shooter video thing came down, they
blocked DTube and Steam, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a knee-jerk reaction for them to stop the spread of the video. And then they, I think, changed their constitution where anyone that is caught watching or owning the video, it's like owning child porn. Like, it's an instant felony. You're going to jail for a long time, which is absurd. It's a freaking video.
Right. Well,
it's what they're trying to do. It's the only way they control it is with really strict knee-jerk reactions these days.
Right, and that's why I think that it may not be out of the realm of possibility for there to be a internet kill switch thing or something that happens in the future. So something to be thinking about is that is to try to move away from their internet, the ISP system and all that, to start building new mesh networks and stuff like that.
I think so. I think it can even start on a municipal level, where by having a city, you can be your own internet service provider. And maybe one day we'll get away from the backbone of AT&T, Level 3, and all those other huge providers that if you want to be ISP, you have to use them. There's a duopoly or maybe even just a monopoly on getting on the backbone of the internet these days. And if cities and municipalities could take it back, which many municipal internet providers do exist, but not many, but we could eventually build a giant mesh network using dark fiber even, which is old fiber cables that are currently deactivated. Dark fiber is something that's interesting.
Wow, yeah, I've never heard of that. That is interesting.
Yeah, it's government-ran fiber that was used for a short time, and they stopped using it, but it's completely good. And you could actually completely connect, like, the United States together through dark fiber runs.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah. Rondon says mesh is a meme. You want to fight about it? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know exactly. Yeah. I do agree with that. Like, a mesh network. The only mesh networks that I'm really aware of would be like this GoTenna system, which uses it uses radio communications, and then it uses cell towers and stuff like that. And I believe you can only get through like text communications and things like that. So yeah.
We need to bring back the old infrastructure. We need to bring it back and working again. Like a nurse just said, it's dark for a reason. It's probably broken in many areas. It needs to be fixed.
I gotcha.
And I think fiber is really hard to patch by design. It's a piece of glass cable. So it's one of those things where, ham, go with shortwave, and that type of system might work better. But fixing dark fiber one day may be a viable plan.
Yeah. So, if it came down to it, ham is an option. But hopefully we don't have to get there. But, maybe that's the key to building more resiliency in these networks, and at least maybe like these guys that are using stuff like coin text, as long as you're able to use SMS, then you're able to send and use cryptocurrencies over SMS and stuff like that. So
as long as we don't get data heavy. I mean, radio is good for talking and text, but as soon as you want to send like a zip file, have fun with that. That's not going to be fun. You better have error correction. That's all I got to say.
Oh yeah. I didn't know you could even send, it's like fast scan TV or something. Have you ever heard of that? You can send that over ham radio communications. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I watch this guy on YouTube that picks up on radio frequencies, and he shows people sending data packets across just a shortwave or whatever. And it's fun to watch, like the histogram shape of the radio frequency, and it looks like little blocks as they're sending the data. It's cool.
So Inertia says sneakernet is faster than a mesh.
Sneakernet means walking, I think. I think he's joking with us.
Gotcha.
I think.
Okay.
Sneakernet is like when you gave someone a thumb drive and said, "Here, I got it to you, Sneakernet."
Oh, gotcha.
Walk over them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah,
Are you planning on getting your ham or shortwave license at any point?
Yeah. I was going to do the amateur license or whatever so that I could start playing around on ham. Yeah.
And then you're going to build a spanner, just put a big old 100-foot spanner up in the middle of your property.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe get this podcast going on ham as well, broadcast to ham as well. So
you're going to pirate radio it?
Yeah, pirate radio this joker, so. It's been it's one of my projects on the list of projects that I got So
That's cool. You can do really cool things with ham on the computer. There's something called GNU Radio, GNU Radio, and it's an open source radio transceiver application. And you can do crazy, crazy stuff with it because it's all whatever the code can do, it can run. But GNU Radio, once you have an antenna in your license, you're gonna have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Now you're not into doing any of that stuff, are you?
No, I just watch a lot of DEF CON videos. So I watch all these people doing cool things with the setups, but I haven't had a chance to build a lab yet to test it.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So these guys are actually playing around with a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah, they do really cool things. This one guy actually took control of a drone that was outside his window. He lives like a residential area, and his next door neighbor had a kid that was flying his drone near his house, and he actually used a GNU radio to connect to the drone and send reset packets at it and shut it off or cause it to crash.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, and you can't really do that unless you have an open source radio application because it's pretty much offensive packet shaping and you're trying to attack something. But hey, if someone's trying to spy on you and he's on your property, take him out. You're allowed to shoot it. Why can't you shoot it with packets?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it was a whole DEF CON. I love DEF CON. That's a great YouTube channel to follow and watch all the videos if you can't actually go to one of those events.
It's DevCon, DEV Con, or is it DEF Con?
Yeah, I'm gonna put a link in it. It's the hacking conference that's done every year, I think.
Yeah. Man, that's wild, man. That's cool. Well, yeah, I mean, John McAfee says, like, if it's electronic, then there's a way to hack it or get into it in some way.
Have you seen John McAfee's uninstall video where he tells how to uninstall McAfee?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's been around since like 2013 and I just saw it yesterday. I was on the floor dying. That guy, I love him. He's so awesome.
Yeah. Apparently, Co, I've been trying to get Co on to talk about his project, the Co Exchange, and he said that they're gonna do on one of his servers, they're going to actually have a interview with McAfee coming up soon here.
I hope he's all what he used to be. I've heard him talk about crypto recently, and I'm not all that impressed. But in the past, he's been a real prodigy. So I just hope bath salts haven't completely wiped out his brain by now.
Yeah, he's pretty legendary, man. It's pretty interesting. Wait, Rondon, you're the guy interviewing McAfee? No way. That's
what?
cool. Whoa, that's awesome,
so cool.
Dude. That's cool. Man, to me, he's a legend. Everything that he's done, like how he faked his death, or he hasn't like faked his death, but like he faked like he was dying so that he wouldn't get extradited or whatever and charged in Belize, and then
compound. He has a whole compound down there.
Yeah, and now he ran away. He flew out of the country to get away from the IRS and everything like that. I mean, the dude is an intelligent guy. To come up with the thing about faking, a heart attack or whatever to get away from being extradited or whatever, or charged in Belize was just like insane. And yeah, the guy is, the guy's no saint, but the guy is definitely an outlaw, and he's like, he doesn't care what the hell the government's doing. He'll do his own thing by hook or by crook.
Well, businessman will make money either, like you said, selling jewels on the street of Mexico or selling antivirus subscriptions, but he'll make his money.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that'll be awesome, man. I'll need to be there for that one. So
cool, Rod, and good luck with that interview. Oh, he faked it?
Yeah. No, yeah, he faked he faked a heart attack or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I've watched a documentary on him. He has had quite the life over the last 15 years. Ever since he sold off McAfee, he's just he is like a vigilante mercenary life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah.
It's what you can do in Mexico with a lot of money, I guess. You can just become your own autonomous government.
Well, that's kind of what he kind of became a little his own little empire. Yeah, down in Belize.
Yeah, that is just amazing. I don't think people could get away with it again. He was like the first to do it and probably the last one. They're like, okay, we saw this guy do this. No one else gets away with this again. It caused a lot of hell for that country. I mean, I think he even like killed his neighbor's dog and got away with it. Well, it's crazy stuff.
Well, the thing that happened was somebody killed his dog. His neighbor killed his dog. And then they think he set out an assassination on his neighbor. And that's why, from one of the guys that he had in security. So that was the reason why they were going after him in Belize. And so,
over a dog. Wow. Well, I guess they'll try to get him on whether they probably wanted him over other stuff, but that was the most concrete thing they could get him on.
Right. It was. Yeah. Like Ron says, it was never proven in any court, but
allegedly.
These are allegedly what happened. So, that's awesome, man. That'll be. I'll definitely be tuning in for the interview with McAfee there. But man, it just kind of comes down to a lot of what I talk about on the show and everything is just trying to get this information. This is great information that we're talking about here about some of these different solutions with technology now. And this it kind of brings it back to this COPPA thing where government is just trying to regulate, but technology is moving so fast that these guys can't even keep up. And when they think that they're trying to, their good intention is to try to protect people, but they're really stifling. They have no clue about the technology really. They don't really have a clue about the technology, and they're creating these regulations to try to regulate the market, and it's really harming. It's doing a lot more harm than any good.
You just can't dump stuff on it. The internet is a series of tubes.
Yeah, these guys are clueless. Yeah,
it's painful. It's kind of like the Chinese Communist government trying to stop people from doing things on the internet as well. It's these old men think they can do things the old way when technology has grown exponentially in the last 30 years, and they haven't kept up.
Yeah. And in my opinion, they're already irrelevant because the innovation is going to be happening at such a rapid pace that these guys are just going to be. They're pretty much going to be innovated out of existence, in my opinion.
I hope there's not a blockade against crypto to fiat, where eventually, if you have like money in a checking, like you can no longer send your money to a crypto exchange. I'm not looking forward to that, but that might be happening in the future, and that's the first sign that they're going to try to stop it, I think.
Yeah, that's why I think it's just good to be as self-reliant as possible. In that we need to start. I'm glad we talked about this because this is the one thing that I've kind of looked into the future and seen that especially people that are using these tools and trying to get information out, is that we need to be understanding this technology, really, really well and utilizing it to its full potential, and be able to teach other people in our network on how to use these tools as well. And so that we become we're starting to build these systems that are just so much better than the current system, and that people will want to voluntarily join, and start using these systems themselves. And so we need to become very resilient people. We need to become build our networks with each other and be able to, sustain ourselves through emergency situations and periods where there may be an entire system breakdown. And
I think you have to be proactive. If you wait till the bank run to get your money out, you're going to stand in line and you're never going to get your money. But if you do it ahead of time, at least it's already there, and you own your keys. When you own Bitcoin, unless it's on exchange, you have your private keys. There is no custodian of funds. You are the owner. It's not the same with the bank or stocks or any other asset out there, basically. I mean, even like we were talking about earlier, real estate is truly owned by the government that your land is on. But crypto is the first hard asset in a way that you can have the private key, and if no one else has, that can't be confiscated.
Yeah. And if somebody tries to take it from you, you just burn your seed words, and just like the Russians, when they were being invaded, they just burned their villages as they were moving into Russia, and they just let them freeze to death in Siberia.
Right, the number station and the one-time pads. If they just get rid of that, you can't then figure out the code.
Yeah. So it's like, I'll be damned if you try to come and take anything from me. I'll just burn it.
Yeah, there's no freezing of accounts. It's burning of accounts.
Yeah. So,
but that's important. And even on Steam, even though if Steam it went down, your funds are still on the blockchain. And people always freak out that they say, "Oh, well, Steam it's centralized." Well, no, just one aspect is, but you can still access all this either through the command line, or you can access it through many other dApps these days. So these platforms are not centralized if you look at them from the grand scale. But if you look at your login at Bank of America, that's extremely centralized, and you have no control over what they do with your funds. If there's a disaster, you're going to opt in to help pay for whatever disaster there is. It happened in Greece, and it will probably eventually happen in America.
Yeah. So, I see we have a few more people joining us, and guys, thanks for coming in. And let's see, we got Breeze, we got Crimson Clad, Inertia, Justin Ashby, Peachy, Pandito, Steamic Qua, and El Gecko. Thanks for joining us, y'all. And
thanks for listening in.
Yeah, we're talking about ways to get around the system right now, and about decentralization, and kind of how all this stuff is interrelating with self-reliance, and just some alternatives and some strategies on how we can become more self-reliant. So it's these are the topics that we're talking about right now, and Solo Miner is just a wealth of knowledge on these different crypto projects and what's going on in the space. So
thanks, Making Stuff. I think having passive income from crypto is probably the best way to protect yourself of being in a blockade, where if the government or the bank shut down access from fiat to crypto. Because think about it, if you're always spending crypto, you're eventually going to have to go back and buy some more. Unless you hold it until it moons, that's not realistic. But having passive income versus like curation on Steam, you can take your earnings and cash it out or use it that way. You can own the nodes like I was talking about earlier. And there's hundreds of different altcoins that have nodes. There's so many different kinds. And by having passive income coming from these, you're not constantly dipping into your fiat and worried about a roadblock. And if you have crypto, you can buy gift cards. You can get a debit card and convert it to the dollars or whatever national currency you're a part of. But you can't always go the other way around. You could be blockade, where you can't bring your fiat into crypto anymore. So always having crypto and building more crypto from your original crypto is probably a more freer aspect of always buying more crypto and trying to stake or hold it like you do with Bitcoin, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
The hodl mentality is the only chance that you can have to make money on Bitcoin, but many proof of stake coins, you earn coins by holding coins, by being a part of the community. Even in Steam, I mean, it's proof of mind.
Right.
Proof of brain. Proof of brain is what Krebs calls it, I believe. Right.
Yeah, man, that's great strategy, and I think that's vitally important for people to start seeing this, because the on ramps and off ramps are getting tighter, And if you have a way of earning crypto right now, you can do exactly what you're saying. You can make it a passive income stream for yourself.
Yeah. Play Steam Monsters. Buy Steam Monsters packs when they're cheap and sell them when they're expensive. And there's so many ways. Once you have crypto, you can make more crypto. The crypto rich just get richer.
Man, there you go. Yeah, and try to live as frugally as you can. But yeah, like Breeze. Yeah, you're thinking the same way. Who said she considered burning the farm if the government steals it? Yeah, I think that. Man, especially in my situation as well, is that, if it was ever a point where I was going to be targeted or something like that, I'll just burn my assets, I guess, and start over or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Can't be confiscated, unlike a bank account. Can't stop them from freezing it. It's just done instantly.
That's the key. That's the power, I think, of crypto, is one of the big powers that, and it's maybe have your kill switch ready in case your dead man switch ready or whatever.
Yeah, and it's important for people to understand just owning crypto isn't enough. Keeping your crypto on an exchange is basically one step below having a bank account with US dollars. You don't have your private keys if you have your money on an exchange. Now, there's reasons to have your money on an exchange. If you're trading ups and downs, you have to keep money on the exchange. But a lot of people are actually afraid to install wallets and then get the money off. It's just one extra step they don't think they have to do. And I think if one thing people need to be educated on is don't treat an exchange like a savings account. Get it off to your actual wallet.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, don't ever think your funds are yours when they're on an exchange, because if you don't hold the keys, then you don't own them, right?
Yeah, I've had money on Bitfinex when they got hacked, and they took out a quarter of my balance. It happens. It's happened twice, actually, to me, where I've had money on exchanges, and a hack happened, and, they shut it down while they deal with the hack, but when you come back, you have a little less balance because everyone opted in to pay for that hack. And that's not an issue you have if you hold your coins. They can't take your money. It's yours.
Yeah. So yeah, just kind of coming back to the whole have your bases covered first is what I like to tell everybody. Make sure you have all your bases covered first. You have a network built around you that you can take care of your food and your water and your shelter, and maybe if this whole thing goes down, everybody's going to become woofers or something like that. We'll all build organic farms. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm actually trying to build a permaculture farm and be in a position where I can host people on the property and start sharing and skills and things like that. So, in teaching workshops and putting on events and stuff like that. So you guys coming out will kind of be the first test case for it, but
I'm looking forward to it. We'll get to be the Steam pioneers.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be exciting to be able to show you some of the projects that I've got going on and get you guys there and
And we'll help you out a little too. We'll get a little work done on your property. So I don't know how often you have help, but if we're both out there, we want to help you a little bit.
Yeah, that's I just started that part-time job, and so I've been going back and forth from there, and so it's been a lot of work to get that going, and it's coming along, but it's coming along slow. So yeah, Justin Ashby, we'll have to talk, man, if you want to come by. Yeah, a lot of people in the community, I know Swoop is somebody else that would like to come out. Rondon, I'd love to host sometime, and maybe we'll put on a concert or something.
Now we hear everyone going to Steamfest, but we never hear about the connections in America. So it's good we finally get to connect, and hopefully other people are inspired to connect too.
Absolutely, yeah, and it is one of those things that I think it is so important to build the personal connections with each other. I know when I went to Anarchadelphia, being able to meet all these other people that are anarcho-capitalists that share the same mindset it was so refreshing to meet people of the similar mindset in real life, and it was just so great. Yeah, Breeze, definitely, for sure. Y'all are welcome. So swoop. You sleep nude. Okay. Make sure that you got your own thing. I was watching a video about grounding and earthing yourself. So if you just sleep nude on the ground, I guess you get like some good ion exchange. So
they say or walking barefoot out on the grass.
Yeah, it has real health benefits. It does a really good job at being able to reduce inflammation in the body. Yeah,
I heard it actually helps with jet lag. I've never had a chance to try it, but they said if you're jet lagged from flying across time zones, if you find a place of grass and you walk around barefoot on it, it helps. I don't know if it's true, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. I watched this documentary, and then so one of the things that it showed was that blood flows better when you're grounded. If you're grounded to the earth, if your skin makes contact with the soil, your blood flow, instead of being maybe more thick and viscous and having the ability to clump together, your blood actually creates a repulsive field around each red blood cell that helps the blood to flow easier and smoother in the body. And so that's one of the big reasons why this anti-inflammatory effect happens, and just starts to make everything work better when you're grounded to the earth.
I've heard of it. I knew this trucker that would have a grounding cable that he ran outside of his cab when he would be parking up for rest, and he would literally run it down into the parking lot, and it would go up into his cab and ground his sleeping mat he was on. So there's something to it. I've heard of many accounts of people either being barefoot or having, like I said, a mechanism to ground themselves when they're on the go. There's something about it.
Yeah. Well, and we're one of the things they talk about, or they talked about in this video, is that we are electrical beings, and then in the modern era we have all these electric devices that are bombarding us with this energy, and if you have all this excess, if you have all this excess electrical energy in your body, it can kind of cause different signals to misfire and things like that. And but when you ground yourself, you're able to actually reduce the amount of free radicals in the body and a lot of this stuff that you get built up from all these excess electrical signals that you're being bombarded with. And it was a cool documentary. I'd have to show that for everybody, post that for everybody.
Makes sense. Yeah, like you were saying, our cells are bound by electrical fields. In many cases, I think atoms and the molecules are all based on negative and positive charges. So being grounded may have an effect on that. It's very possible.
Yeah. Some of the research, and I had my uncle on maybe a couple weeks ago, and come to find out he had tumbled down the rabbit hole on a lot of health stuff, and he's an eye doctor. And one of the research topics that and one of the guys he looked into was a Gerald Pollack, and he looked into this. He studied water, and it turns out there's this fourth state of water that's somewhat crystalline, and it holds a negative charge to it, and so there's different things that actually promote the increase of this fourth phase of water in the body, and it actually helps to surround the hydrophilic cells. The surfaces of all cells are hydrophilic, so meaning they want to attract water, and this fourth state of water creates this zone of a negatively charged crystalline water around these cells in certain states, especially in infrared light. and it's a way to actually create the cells to activate a lot easier, because this fourth state of water surrounds it, and it makes it a lot more energetic and be able to regain its shape after it's performed its functions and things. So Gerald Pollack is a really interesting guy, and this fourth state of water, easy water, is something that I suggest everybody go look into.
What's his name again?
Gerald Pollack.
Gerald Pollack. Okay, I'll make note of that. I got my old notepad here making all my notes.
Yeah, so it's that's one of the things among a lot of the other rabbit holes I've tumbled down, but he's a really he's somebody to really look into, in my opinion, and has got some really great information. So
very cool. So what are you going to do with permaculture wise? You were touched on that for a minute with your property, but do you have some kind of crops or soil conditioning plan coming up?
So I planted a bunch.
Logs.
I planted a bunch of fruit trees, fruit and nut trees out there, and so that's what I did to get started. And then I have a bunch of other things like turmeric, and I just got some lemongrass and goji berries and thornless blackberries that I'm going to be planting out there, and just trying to get a little orchard started first so I can start propagating trees, because so this is one of the other things I'd like to do, is kind of create like a barter network of use fruit trees as a barter item, and then be able to go out and exchange value with some of those things. And because I think if we all just started planting fruit trees, one of the guys I saw at Anarchadelphia gave this idea out, was that if we just started planting fruit trees in strategic areas and cities and things like that, with people that are agreeable to having them on their property and things like that, then you can create a food network in your area and be able to create urban food forests, really. And that way that, pretty much everybody could be supported off of local foods and things like that. So that's one of the things that I really want to get into, is being able to propagate these fruit and nut trees. And then there's a local tree grower in the area that does this special every spring that sells, the last time we did it, I think we were able to get five trees for, I think it was like $20 a bundle for 5 trees or whatever, something like that. And so he was selling these trees for a pretty good price anyway.
What kind of trees?
All different types. They had fruit, nut, I think that they had pear, plum, everything that grows really well in this area.
Gotcha. I think with pear, you have to be careful, like the fire blight, which ones you get.
Yeah. He had a bunch of different varieties. He had kind of a strange variety that is Arkansas black apples, and we bought some of those. And those have the benefit of they don't carry this cedar rust thing that happens. It's like a fungus that is on the cedar tree. Yeah. And in a lot of the forests, I know in a lot of the areas of Alabama that we have cedar trees all over the place, and regular apple trees are susceptible to this. And you have to be like, a really long distance from a cedar tree to have your apple trees not be affected by this. But anyway, these Arkansas black apples don't have that problem. So yeah.
Yeah, it's important in your environment to grow the right trees. Is in the South, the humidity can really harbor some nasty pests. And if you're not ready for them, they'll wipe you out. But if people grow up in the north that don't encounter them, they don't mention to people down in the south trying to grow these things.
Yeah. So yeah, Justin Ashby. Yeah, I'm gonna try to be, propagating these trees, and definitely like to get those out there to people that want to buy them for sure. I started a homesteaders co-op website, so yeah, if you wanted to buy things with steam, then I'm going to be putting these things up on there as well, and
nice,
either for barter or you can buy them with steam or whatever. So
Homesteader Co-op is a great, I guess you could call it a DApp. It's kind of like a decentralized application in a way. They're a website that works with Steam.
Yeah, well, they were able to integrate Steam payments into their website. So
yeah.
So if anybody's not familiar with that yet, and if anybody is a farmer or has homemade goods, makes crafts or homemade goods or anything like that, it'd be really good to go look into the homesteaders co-op and see if you can get an account on their website. So it truly is a co-op. Everybody kind of helps market each other on there, and
you have to delegate a little to be involved.
Yeah,
just an interesting system, but it depends on how much you hold is how much they want you to delegate. So it's kind of like a race. It's a sliding scale in the way, so no one has to spend way too much to be a part of it.
Yeah. Breeze is, I definitely might need some help with the propagation. I'm wondering, so I've just been reading on grafting, and I haven't had much success being able to root different trees in the past. So that's like one of my big problems is being able to get these, take my cuttings and then be able to get them to root well.
Same here. I have problems with that as well. Are you trying to use the rooting hormone and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've even tried the rooting hormone and things like that. It's just, I guess I've tried to do too much stuff at once. So what I really need to do is just like pick one tree maybe, and then really figure out how to propagate that well. And then once I have that down, I guess I should go to the next one and the next one.
And having a greenhouse too. For those, I've noticed of cuttings, you really want to build like a little humid tent area, like, getting a big bag and building a little wire frame around it, because the humidity is key with those saplings. If they don't stay humid and dry out, they die instantly.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. Yeah. And, I recently watched a video on these grafting, and they actually wrap their cutting in a wrap, so it doesn't lose the moisture. And yeah, that is the key. That's something that I haven't been as that may be my big issue, is that I'm letting the thing dry out too much and not putting something over it to allow it to the roots to take hold. And
then if you get cold, if it drops into 30s, then the lack of moisture allows whatever's in there to die. So it's like a two-step thing. It's like the moisture keeps things warm, and they also keep them alive. If they dry out, the cold gets in and just kills it all.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's something that I want to get. That's something I want to get really good at. And
very cool.
And so like I said, so I have those trees, and then at my folks' place, they have I think he's got a similar number of fruit trees on his property too. So it's kind of, one of the things I've been talking to my dad about is that he's looking for something to maybe do in his retirement. And so we're looking into doing a tree nursery and orchard propagation and permaculture farm kind of stuff. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I want to be able to grow enough fruit to sustain myself. I don't have enough property to do that, so we go to the farmer's market just about every week to stock up. But our blueberries did really well last year, and I think the mason bees that I was farming helped a lot too to increase pollination.
Oh, great. That's really great.
hoping next year, this coming February, I'm hoping to have a lot more. I planted some new plants, so hopefully I can keep up with the increased amount of bees I'm bringing on my property.
Yeah. Well, that's a good problem to have, I guess, is having more bees than you can think of. But
well, when you have like 5 bees on one flower, they tend to knock them off. So it's good up to a point. And also nectar robbing can be a problem where some bees will attack the flower and make a hole in the side of it. Luckily, mason bees don't do it. It's usually bumblebees that attack flowers that way. But still, if there's like way too many bees for each flower, it might be a problem. I don't know. It's a good problem to have, like you said.
yeah,
Better than no bees. I don't want to have no bees. I would rather have too many bees than no bees.
exactly. Yeah. So okay. So one of the previous guests I had on, he goes by Jules, but we had a big conversation. He got really into growing mushrooms, and one of the things that he talks about is how mushrooms are one of the big helpers for bee health, because there's some specific pathogen fighting things in mushrooms that the bees pick up on. And since we lost a lot of these, a lot of the forests with rotting wood, and there's not as many, mushroom growth around as there was in the past or whatever, this also has an effect on the bees, because what they would do is they'd go out around and the bees actually look for this stuff, and they drink like the dew off the mushrooms and things like that, off of the rotting wood. And it actually gives the bees health benefits to help make them more robust against certain pathogens and things. Yeah, so,
I believe that.
Yeah, so El Gecko put up their polysaccharides. I don't know if that's the thing, but yeah, I guess that's the thing that they produce for the bees. But so yeah, if you're getting into bees, you might want to look into doing some kind of mushrooms or something like that too.
Yeah, I'll have to look at which ones are synergistic with the bees. That's interesting. I do have a little mycology experience, but not enough to probably grow it like on a large scale. But probably the bees don't need much. They just need a tiny bit.
Yeah. That's one of the things that. Oh, okay. Well, here's another book that would be interesting if you are looking into. I know you do mason bees, but if you're looking to do honeybees, there's a guy, Thomas Seeley, and he hunts for wild bees in the wild, and he captures them. And so he captures wild bee swarms, and I think he wrote a really good book on this that I'm looking into right now. I think is like Following the Wild Bees: The Craft and Science of Bee Hunting.
Well, you can definitely collect the queens. I've heard exterminators, when they do bee jobs, they'll try to collect the queen, and a lot of them are hobby bee farmers. So they'll take them back home and start a colony with them.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of colony bees, though. I've been stung by bees. I'm not a fan of it. And mason bees, shockingly, have never, ever stung me. They're very curious, and they try to literally fly up your clothes and check you out, but they've never stung me, so that's nice.
Oh, cool, yeah. Yeah, well, one of the things that... So Professor Bromide on Steemit, he's a beekeeper. And,
sure is.
And we talked, and... So one of the things that he says is really important when you're doing beekeeping is that the pheromone that the queen puts out is it's a similar smell to lemongrass. And so if you can put, that lemongrass scent on your body before approaching any beehive, then they actually they won't sting you. They'll think you're not a threat or anything.
Oh, never heard of that. That's cool.
But but the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to eat a banana or anything like that before you go out to their hive, because that is the pheromone that they put out to say attack something or whatever. So
I would have never guessed. That's cool that they figured that out.
Yeah, they're fascinating creatures. The bees are so fascinating creatures.
Yeah, even yellow jackets, I mean, they can sting you, and then the pheromones and the sting on you, they track you and follow you that way. That's just terrifying.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I hate yellow jackets. Since I moved to Georgia, it's the bug I hate the most.
Oh, yeah. I've come across a few yellow jacket nets in my lifetime. And
oh, my God. Every year I find them. Every year I have to kill them. I have to get up at 4 a.m. and go battle with them before the sun comes up.
Yeah.
And I can't use gasoline like you probably can out in your property. I got too many neighbors that would call the fire department. So I got to kill them usually by killing them like with a chemical or using DE. That works well. That can't even say that word right. It's something earth. But it's basically these little micro razor sharp fossils that get on the exoskeleton of the bug and kills them. And it's non-toxic. Even for animals.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. It's diatomaceous earth, yeah.
There you go. I can't say that word right for the life of me. Diatomaceous earth. There you go. Well, now you said it, I'm good.
Yeah.
But that's just great.
Okay, it works good for yellow jackets and stuff.
If you can run, because they don't die instantly. So you have to kind of spray it and get the hell out of there, and then they usually toss around in it and die. But it's a death by 1,000 cuts is the way they explain it with that stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Crim's got it. That's it. Diatomaceous. I have a big old jug of it. It's cheap, super cheap. But like I said, it doesn't have a knockdown effect, so you better be ready for some pissed off critters.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the thing, is like I have bees on my property, so I can't use 7 Dust or other really effective chemicals against these guys, which I want to, but I'm afraid my mason bees are going to get sick. So now I've been really focusing on either like killing them with DE or like the BT you recommended to me is great because it's just a fungus. It's not actually a chemical designed to like kill them. It's just a naturally occurring chemical that the bees have been around. It's not like something that was just genetically engineered and the bees have no chance against.
Yeah. You know what? Another thing, I see El Gecko posted a little chart of mushrooms and their targeted therapeutic effects, and it looks like this is from Paul Stamets. And so Paul Stamets also talks about how he's looked into mycelium that will actually, take out your fire ants and different things like this around your property by inoculating your soils with this certain mycelium, I guess, and then it actually turns the ant. It starts to eat them from the inside out, and it just like kills the ants.
Oh,
and it's it's an organic method of pest control.
Is it those fungus that can take control of the ant's brain and makes them climb up high up so things eat it and then it recycles through the digestive tract of the body of the animal?
Yeah, I think it's that one, yeah.
Yeah, the zombie ant virus. I remember National Geographic was all about it a few years back. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
They literally have like a spore body growing out of it, the forehead, and it would just burst open. It was like straight out of Alien. It was crazy.
Yeah. So, Paul Stamets looked into a lot of that stuff and was looking for a more organic pest control type system. And I think in one of the videos that I saw where he was being interviewed, Joe Rogan did a good interview with him on his the Joe Rogan Experience with Paul Stamets. So
yeah.
So if you want to look into
trying to get him on, I think Swoop DM'd him, right? So
yeah. He DM'd him on Twitter.
Good look out, Swoop. We appreciate it if he shows up.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'll have to reach out to him myself because he is a fascinating guy. And yeah, mushrooms just have so much of an effect with human beings, and lots of health effects as well from watching that podcast. It really opened my mind to about how helpful these mushrooms can be in our cognitive function. And he talks about the psychedelic mushrooms. After you've taken psychedelic mushrooms, you have all these new neural pathways that are created after you've taken some of these psychedelic mushrooms as well. So
maybe that explains the rewiring of the brain feeling that many people experience when doing psilocybin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's something to it. I think mushrooms have very, very specific properties that we haven't fully understood yet. And I think their recycling capabilities are some of the most amazing. They'll literally clean up like plastic and toxic waste and turn it into carbon, something that can actually be processed.
Yeah. There's all of these different there's all of these different things that are out there that we can deal with this in a natural way instead of using these petrochemicals, and so it's really exciting about all these different techniques and things that are out there now that you can use that can get you around having to use petrochemicals in your farming techniques. And another thing, one of the big things in plant health and being able to, because plants will actually create their own ability to keep away certain insects. But if they're strong enough, only if the soil microbiology is strong enough as well. So
it's like an immune system. It only works if it's strong.
Yeah, exactly. Just like humans. And
yeah.
And so there's, I think we're relearning a lot of things. We've been disconnected in our culture and our society from a lot of this stuff. But now we do have the, certain scientists that are revealing a lot of this stuff and explaining it into our, I guess, our way of understanding these things again through this science that's being put out there now, through these different scientists that are telling it to us. So it's exciting times in my opinion, and there's a lot to be hopeful for. And with all the doom and gloom everywhere out on the regular media or whatever, they want you to keep living in fear. But there's so many exciting things that are happening in the background. It's just our responsibility, I think, to keep pushing forward in a positive direction, and trying to support each other as much as we can. And even though we have to have these little fiat pieces of paper right now to keep us going, and we got to make money to keep us going, that we should, just keep pushing for that positive future, and start to utilize, like you're saying, a separate economy where you have this passive income in crypto and things like that. So,
yeah, and a way that's not controllable through the banks and corporations. If you have your keys, you're the owner, as long as they don't get robbed from you. But a corporation couldn't step in and say, "Oh, you can't send it there, or you can't send it there." You're in control of them.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're coming up on the end of the show, and if you have any,
time flew by.
Yeah, I know, it was a really good conversation, man. You're a wealth of knowledge, I have to say, in all of the crypto realm, and you gave me some really great, and the whole audience, some really good knowledge on different ways that you can strategize your cryptos. So
yeah, and even in Steam, I mean, you got Minnow Booster, you got TipU, you got Curation. You can become a witness. There's so many ways that you can make passive income, even just on Steam alone. You can play Steam Monsters all day. You can create 10 Steam Monsters accounts and constantly claim the reward cards. There are so many options that people can consider.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really exciting, especially when you look at all these things. And I thank you again for being able to take your time out of your day, Solo, to come on and chat with me, and appreciate you having that time to come on. So
glad to join you in making stuff, and looking forward to shaking your hand real soon.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, that'll be great to have you meet you in real life. So that'll be awesome.
There you go. You get to meet Ryu Lincoln too. He's a big part of my big Steam adventure. So he's a cool guy.
Most excellent, man. Most excellent. So, yeah, thanks again. And thank you all for joining us today on Meadows and Makers. Stay tuned for Crimson Cloud Steamwave Saturday, where she goes into a lot of this stuff that, any questions that you may have about the Steam ecosystem and new things that are popping up in the ecosystem here. So everybody, thank you so much for coming in and attending the show. Thank you for all your interaction and everything like that. I really appreciate all you guys and love you guys for coming and hanging out every week. So thank you so much, and stay tuned for Crimson Clad and Steamwave Saturday. And I'll play you guys out with a track by Divine and Junk Feathers called Awake. So thanks again. We'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.